warm welcome to Podful of Saints on Tuesday, the 25th of April 2023. The season is reaching its climax, and we've still got a bit to fight for, which is makes a change and makes it all worthwhile. Right, we're going to chew over the fat. Myself, David Tavener, over there somewhere, top man on the controls, Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all very well.
And equal top man over there, no controls, of course, Lee Wood.
Top man, really? Such praise so early. That'll never, ever last. Good evening, fellas. How are we?
Well, we are beaming and booming because we think we're in touching distance of a National League, obviously. God knows why. We're looking back on a defeat. A defeat indeed, 2-1 last Saturday away to Dartford. Good news for the Darts. They've cemented their place as runners-up in National League South this season, so good luck to them. Well done, and good luck in the playoffs. We can still get there. But we should have wrapped it up last Saturday. That first half, the three of us were down at Prince's Park, along with, 1,183 people. That first half, we went an early goal down, 3 minutes, Sam Carruthers. Didn't look that hard a strike, but it got the better of Dylan Berry. After that, it was all us, but we didn't have a goal scorer on the pitch, and our finishing was woeful. Poor old Tafari Moy had the best chance of a lot, probably, and put it against the crossbar. And after the break, I felt Dartford tightened up on us really well. They adjusted their game and they really shut us down well, and they had the better of it, and we couldn't change our game. Does that coincide with the way either of you two saw it?
We could have changed the game a bit earlier, if I'm honest. You're absolutely spot on, Tabs, and I hate it when you're right, because it's the whole podcast goes tits up from there on in from me. But one thing I would say is that we lost the game because we just couldn't finish. And I know that you alluded to this maybe 2 weeks ago, Dave. You can't see Nobby dropping Jeffers for the rest of the season now. And I have to say, when we saw the team sheet, Jacob, on the way into the ground, mate, we shook our heads in disbelief. And I know at the fans forum, and Nobby has alluded to this on his post-match about the balance of the side and why he likes to play person A over person B and all this. Balance is one thing. Scoring goals is completely another kettle of fish. And the fella he left out scores goals, and he scores great goals as we're going by his effort on Saturday. So, would we have won the game, or would we got something out of the game if Jeffers would have started? We don't know. That's it's speculation, but you've got to give yourself the best possible opportunity to win the game from the first minute, boys. And I've got to say, we came away from there, Jake, thinking that we had deserved at least a point out of that game, didn't we? First half, Dartford offered very little. It was all about us, and it was all about the lack of finishing and composure in front of goal. And unfortunately, I think Jeffers showed exactly why he should have been starting in the first place when he came on and scored that fantastic effort in the second half. I just don't. I don't want it to be the should Jeffers start, should you not? He has to start. If he's going to come on and keep producing stuff like that, there's no other option for us, surely.
71 minutes on the bench. We had all those chances. We didn't score. He comes off the bench. Within 60 seconds, he scored that sensational goal. As you say, Lee, we don't know he would have scored. But with all those chances, I think you'd have fancied him to stick 1 or 2 away in the first half. As Lee was alluding to there, Jake, you were shaking your head as well when you saw the team sheet?
Yes, yeah, I think it's fair to say it was a surprise, to be honest. Last few games we've played well with Jeffers starting. He might not have scored necessarily a lot of goals lately, but, he's played a part. And to be fair, that first half, we did play some brilliant football without him. And that was superb. That really, really good football. And, I'm sure some would argue that with him in the team, we might not necessarily have played that football. Of course, fair enough. But, as you say, those chances went begging. And when they scored in inside 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I immediately thought of this. You need Jeffers on now, don't you? Because you're chasing this game straight away. You're chasing this straight away. And of course, we controlled the game, played some really great football. And, I don't think we shouldn't forget we did that against a team that is second in the league. And I'll be honest, made them look, I thought, ordinary for long stretches of that first half. But yeah, we just missed that finishing cutting edge in the end. And it's just, Tafari Moore, I don't know how he's managed to not score that We've had the follow-up that was cleared in the goal mouth. You've had Mitchell Weiss stick one across the face of goal. We've had other wide chances as well. Yeah, as Lee said, you know, you need someone out there to score goals. I think there are goal scorers in this team, but there's no one consistent like Shaun Jeffers. And sadly, that was probably the difference in that first half. But then I saw he came on, made a massive impact, but I thought he didn't get enough time on the pitch. You know, I thought we were chasing that game second half. Dartford changed tactically. You could see that straight off from the kickoff at the second half. We did not impose ourselves on that second half like we did the first. And I thought, you know, maybe we should have got Shaun on a bit earlier, get the ball to him, present some opportunities. And, you know, if he'd been on that pitch a little bit longer or from the kickoff, we just don't know, do we? It's just one of those afternoons of what could have been, sadly.
Shaun, going into Saturday, scored in 3 of his 4 games against Dartford for us. And now he scored in all of his 3 games down there. And I just will never understand why we didn't go with him. We just needed a point. Get somebody on there who's going to get a goal. But putting that to one side, you said we made Dartford look ordinary. I think they've done a pretty good job themselves lately. They haven't won 2 on the trot since the first week of January. On Thursday night, they lost at Concord. And of course, the thought then was, well, they're tired. Let's take advantage. A good time to play them. But they came back well in that second half. And Concord had played on Saturday and Thursday. They won Saturday as well. But so it don't seem to have had damaged either club playing those 2 games that closely. But we can take a lot of positives from that game, can't we? But it's one of those games. I think you alluded to last week, Lee. It's the time of year now when results possibly matter more than performances, and we just needed that point. And it could be argued we didn't go out there with the best side to do that.
You're absolutely spot on. And I think speaking to a couple of Dartford fans after the game, they knew they got away with one there, and they were very, very, very pleased. One thing I would say is that as soon as you put pressure on Dartford, and I don't know whether it was because of their backlog of fixtures or whatever, but they struggled. They looked panicked. They didn't have any structure. There was a bit of sort of bickering along the back line, and we put them under immense pressure. That's when we should have capitalised. What happened then in the second half? They recuperated, they regathered, they had strength in numbers then, and they just backed everyone up. Everyone was playing in 2s and 3s. You could see that. And there was no way through for us. It took a wonder goal from Shaun to get us on the board. But I think that's what good sides do. You know, even when they're under pressure, they're under the cosh, they're getting ripped apart in the first half, they somehow manage to get back into the game. And I think if they were genuinely honest with themselves, they didn't deserve the win. But that's how they get it. Good sides do battle away, and fortuitous or whatever it may be, they're the ones who are victors on the day. And I think we now need to focus ahead and look at the Farnborough game and make sure we don't make the same mistakes again.
I'd like to give credit to Joe Neal and Shay Cooper for their part in the build-up, because it's a lovely ball by Joe Neal, because he don't just come on as well. I know he struggles in front of goal, and Shay's been a bit off in front of goal last couple of games, but they certainly combined well and set it up nicely. It's interesting that second half. They imposed themselves on us, you could say. And you take that back to a lot of our home games this season, when we struggle to break sides down, because they make it difficult for us to play. If we can't get our way, we do seem to struggle, don't we? We don't seem to be able to change our play into another way to break these sides down. It's too late now for this season, but I don't know. Was there maybe a bit of that in it? A side changed its way and we couldn't.
It's a very good
Right,
question,
next
Dave.
week we got.
I think that we're both shocked by the quality of the question, to be honest. That was almost verging on tactics. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was a totally fair point. And again, I think maybe, you know, should we have expected a response from them second half? Probably. Yeah. Did we really adjust to it? Not really. The biggest change, apart from bringing Jeffers on, was midfield, taking Kyron Wiltshire off, putting Glenn McConnell in the middle and bringing on Zane Banton out wide. None of it really worked that second half, did it? And I think, you know, I know we scored brilliant goal, but we didn't trouble their keeper much, did we? Second half, really, a lot at all.
I can see why. I can see why we continued to persevere with the same side, because the fact we caused them so many problems in the first half. We honestly did, but I think it was a very reactionary thing, for them. They gathered themselves a lot quicker than we did. They fed on what was unfolding before them a lot quicker than we did. But look, hypothetical. If Shaun starts, do we win? If we can go through this 1,000 times. We were doing it on the terraces. There were fans behind us doing it on the terraces. They were talking about it. I bumped into dads on the school run. They're talking about it. So it's a question that keeps popping up. And if people are still talking about it, it means no one's quite gathered up the answer yet. So I think that's where we need to be. We've got a massive game on Saturday. We need to learn. We need to figure out what team is going to be selected to get the result. It might not be the best team. It might not be the team that everyone wants to see. But just got to get the best team out there that's going to get the result, because that's the most important thing at this stage of the season now.
You talk about people you spoke to during the week about the game, Lee. Also, I pay tribute to our supporters. We had good support down there Saturday. Made a heck of a lot of the noise. Some of the language from the kids in the chanting wasn't too pretty, but the noise they generated.
That was us, Tav. Sorry, mate. That was Jake and I. Sorry.
I can believe that. But the noise was fantastic. Shaun Jeffers now, 62 goals for us, National League South. So he's joined Lee Clark at the top of our chart there. So another one Saturday. And he'll have that title to himself. And there was a fear on Saturday. If Ryan Blackman got booked, but he would then face a 3-match ban. But now it's been checked out, and he's got a couple of bookings in hand. So he did get booked Saturday, but he's not banned. So he will be there on Saturday against Farnborough, which is Joy McKenna's 100th game. Of course, we're recording this before Farnborough play tonight, in a big game, and Havant and Waterlooville are playing on tomorrow on Wednesday. If Farnborough failed to win, if Havant failed to win the playoffs anyway, which would be a nice position to be. But wouldn't it be great to go into Saturday? Farnborough won tonight. They need to win. We only need a point. What a great situation that would be.
Not good on the old nerves, though, Taz, is it?
I'd rather they lose.
Yeah. I'm with Jacob.
All right, okay then. Listen, finish Taz, the rest of my script.
Taz, but is being a City fan not stressful enough? Why make it any more harder for ourselves? Do we need to sort of go through that absolute carnage of even more scenarios? Let's just win the game, mate, and then let's just take care of it there and then.
Do you remember, Jake, when we went to Farnborough early in the season? But they were right down the bottom. They looked in big trouble, but they gave us one heck of a game after a poor start. They got going and nearly rescued it. Since then, they come on leaps and bounds. They've had a bad run lately. They got themselves in a really strong position, but they had 4 straight defeats, which has put them in this tricky position now. I think it would still be a major surprise if we didn't pull it off Saturday, wouldn't it?
I mean, their story this season isn't that dissimilar to ours, is it, really? I mean, you think about, just a couple of games after we beat them, Ian Anderson got the sack and David Noble came in, and suddenly we're, fighting for the playoffs, something I don't think any of us expected, in late September, early October. I think most of us were still looking down towards, can we get enough points to stay up securely this season and build for next season? So 2 similar approaches in that way, I think. But yeah, Farnborough, up until, as you say, probably 3 weeks ago, they were arguably the form team in the league, weren't they? They looked like they were truly on the march to get the playoffs. And they've just faltered a little bit. But they're still within touching distance. There's still that to play for. But we have got that goal difference. That goal difference could be a huge bonus. That it really is an extra point in a way at the minute. The swing over the next week has got to be quite a swing. It's not impossible. We've seen it happen even in recent seasons in the Football League. A few crazy weeks that has happened. And Lee doesn't even want to contemplate it.
What are you doing to me, boys? Seriously, for the love of God. I
know, but the great thing is, previous seasons we've gone into final days hoping on a wing and a prayer that another result goes our way, that something else out of our control. We are in control of this situation. It's in our hands now. It has been arguably for the last week and a half. Dartford didn't quite go our way, but we saw that Welling United game the other Saturday. Big crowd, big game. We stepped up and performed and got the result. and I expect it'll be another big crowd on Saturday. But as Dave says, it could be very, very exciting.
I hope we don't play like we did the first half hour against Welling. That could have gone against us, like it could have gone against Dartford Saturday. Right, the team for Saturday. We would all like to see Shaun Jeffers in the starting lineup. He also took off Glenn McConnell. I hope he starts with Glenn on Saturday. He's still our most creative player. He took off Kyron Wiltshire. I can't imagine Kyron won't start. But will he also bring in Zane Banton? Can you see that happening?
I'm not quite sure. The last home game, he started with Jeffers and he started with McConnell, and I think he left Banton out. And we played okay, you know. It was still expansive enough. We were still creating loads of different chances from a load of different outlets. I reckon he might do the same. The fact that, you know, Banton came on, he seems to be, I don't know, not sort of flavour of the month at the minute, which is just bizarre considering the quality that he has. But I think there could be an option to start Shaun, McConnell, and leave Banton on the bench for Saturday. But again, this is the thing, isn't it? We can double guess ourselves. The only person that really knows the answer is Nobby. So, but I think he's going to see the value now in having Shaun start at the games, because what he brings to the table is just it's just fantastic leadership, and goals win games.
We can't knock Nobby too much, can we? Because
no, we're not.
When you mentioned earlier where we've come from when he took over after Ian Anderson was kicked out, he's put us in a position we did not expect at all. So we can offer our opinions, but he's got to say he's done a terrific job, really.
No one here is going to be slamming David Noble. We are massive advocates of him, and the culture he's now absolutely materialised at this club. The style of football we are playing is some of the best, some of the very, very best. It's just frustrating, though, isn't it? You know, we're only responding to the answer to the question that you posed. We don't know. But when I speak to other fans of other clubs in our division, they don't leave their top goal scorer out. And it's just trying to fathom how he's come to that conclusion. Balance of the side is one thing, winning games is another. And I think we're now looking, we need to have the latter at the minute.
Jake, how do you feel for Saturday?
Yeah, I think for me, I'd still like to see Glenn and Shay start alongside. I think it's got to be Shaun. I think that goal on Saturday, we probably haven't talked about enough, was absolutely amazing. First touch to do that. But you've got to, the pressure is on to start Shaun. I think, you know, the fans want it, you know, and he's presented that, and he's just done that. It's absolutely amazing. The only change I wouldn't be terribly shocked if Zane comes in from more of his defensive work rate, depending on the game situation. If, you know, Farnborough have got to come to Clarence Park and score 4 or 5 on Saturday, I wouldn't be shocked to see Zane maybe features sort of a more senior player, and he works quite hard defensively. But personally, I think we've still got to stick with the same attacking three that we had against Welling United. And otherwise, I think the rest of the team generally picks itself. You know, Ricardo Trolio will be back available after his suspension. But, you know, and to be fair, you know, McKenna and Adebayo didn't have their greatest games at Dartford, I don't think. Both of them, especially on the ball, struggled at times. But I don't see Trolio coming in at the moment. So I think most of the team picks itself, really, at the minute.
That picks itself with Jeffers in there, I think you've hinted at there.
Yeah.
So who goes out?
I think it's got to be Mitch, I think, at the moment.
He's the obvious target, isn't he? But,
yeah.
He's doing some good stuff, but you want that proven goal scoring. But Mitch has got 20 for us. On Saturday, what was it? We had 2 players on the bench with 120 odd goals between them, and the rest of the team about 40 or 50 between them.
We're talking about goals. Let's just touch on Jeffers' goal, because one of the lads who I was stood next to is, oh, would you have scored that? Because he was talking about, like, oh, that's almost FIFA stuff, you know, that's almost PlayStation stuff. said, mate, I wouldn't even got that with my head, let alone the way he did it. So it was, I mean, that he scored another worldie at Dartford a couple of seasons ago. He absolutely loves it. I mean, such athleticism of the highest order. And Jake, we were right behind it as it went in, and it almost
absolutely amazing.
It was, I mean, it was just magical, wasn't it? Just absolutely magical.
Motion.
It was almost. And when it crept in, I mean, just the jubilation is absolutely amazing. Tabs, you obviously at the side, mate, with all your minions. Did it look as though it was sort of going in? Because it always did, sort of almost slow-mo, just sort of roll in at the end of the day. But
situations like that are difficult for me, Lee, because I'm looking through my camera and
right.
I only got one decent shot of it just after he kicked it, and his legs are all over the place. It looks fantastic, but I did see it with a naked eye go in, and it was fantastic. You don't see too many of those in your life, do you? Not at our level.
No, this is very, very true. Very, very true.
He's 31 years old, and he's still knocking them in. So, and he's got experience in everything. He's got to start Saturday. Saturday's referee, by the way, is a guy called Matthew Scholes. We've never had him before, but he's done 3 games in National League South this season. And the home teams, 1 win and 2 draws. Any of those results would do us. He's from the Midlands, so hopefully he's a lucky charm for us. That's it, isn't it, for Saturday? It's over to the players now. There's going to be a big crowd down there, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I'd have thought over 2,000, surely. Probably.
Two little tidbits, if I may, from Saturday. The first of which was, well, you talk about the promotion for the game, Jake, right? And there's sort of 2,000 there. There was a tweet that I made back end of Friday. The lack of build-up for the away games from the club social media. Look, we like the fellas in the social media. You know, they're great lads. But it's almost as though they don't put the same effort in to get the people to the away games, which are just as important at this time of the season as they do for the home games. Probably because they don't make any money out of the away games. Who knows? But it's still a St Albans City fixture. It's still a massively important fixture. Do your job, boys. There's no point doing a pre-match thing on like a Saturday morning or Friday night. Build it up, because you can see the scenes and the limbs and the fans that went to Dartford and have done so consistently up and down this country for the last 9 months. That's what it means to people. Get a bit more promo in. You do it for the home games, and we all know why. But look, there is something tangible about getting those terraces packed at away grounds. You know, the players thrive on it. They absolutely love it. You can see it when they come over to us at the end of the games. If we get an away game in the playoffs, do your utmost best. It's not about Mad Squirrel. It's not about Inter-Shikari, as important and vitally important as they are. At this stage, it's about us bettering ourselves as a football club and getting into the promised land of the conference. So please promote the away games as much as you do the home games, because the fans deserve that. Second little tidbit, if I may, behind the stand at Dartford, there's a little program hut, and as you know, along with David, we are program snobs, if nothing else, or nerds, geeks, whatever you want, all of the above. I found this 1993 copy of Team Talk, and the team of the month, the mighty St Albans City, with a very lovely centre page pull-out of the team there. And if I zoom in, at number 2, Roy Edwards, his shirt is sitting up there. And this didn't even cost me. I had to buy 10p from Jake. This is actually Jake's. So tough times at the top, mate. I can't afford 10p to buy a Team Talk. But what a lovely, lovely little find in the programme shop. So, and I have to say, everyone on the train home was reading it and flicking through it, and it was real sort of nostalgia coming back to us as well. So it was a good day out, Jake, wasn't it, on the train? And we met so many fans who had made the effort and made the journey down to Dartford. So yeah, it was a couple of points for me, boys, but on the whole, it was a good day out.
Well, that team talk, Lee, I remember at the time, I think Steve Whitney, you probably check it in there. He was the editor of Team Talk at the time. And he wanted some colour photos to go with the article. And
Yeah,
we didn't have it. We had that team photo, but all I had apart from that was black and white ones, which is what you've got in there, I suspect, if I remember rightly. And
yeah.
they just did the best job they could with that team photo in colour. Roy standing in there, Roy Edwards and Roy Brace. And yeah, quite a nice little piece, wasn't it? 4-page thing, as I remember, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good piece, mate. And you know, I often get accused of living in the past when it sort of comes to the 92, 93 squad. But when the team was that good, mate, you can't help but cast your mind back and reminisce. And hopefully, some of those amazing kids who were shoulder to shoulder next to us, Jake, on Saturday, they'll look back at this team, you know, in 30 years' time and say, well, you know what, that was a bloody good team, and they deserve to get promotion as well. So let's hope it all starts on Saturday.
I think that's an important point that links back to your point about promotion of the away games. Like, you know, the home games create great memories for away fans, but the away games create amazing memories, especially for the younger kids. And you know, a lot of those will be going home, you know, after being stood right behind that Shaun Jeffers goal, and they'll have had, you know, despite the result, they've had a great day. And you know, hopefully there'll be more this season in the playoffs. But you know, I'm sure there's been a number of away days this season that they've loved and really enjoyed. And that is how you truly build like a hardcore support that go in, you know, home and away every week. And that is why away games, especially at this stage of the season, are just as important.
There is something about away games. You're dead right, and you're dead right to bring it up, Lee, because it's not promoted on home match days, particularly over the mic. It's not promoted in the programme much. As you mentioned, the social media and the website just ignores them altogether virtually. The club should do so much more to promote them, because anybody who goes to them, away games have got an atmosphere of their own compared to home games. You're not fighting for the city as such, but it's just nice to win on an opposition soil. There's something really magical about it. It's
I know what you mean.
ludicrous.
I know. No, you're absolutely right, because the thing is, you invest more in going to an away game. You know, it's you're not getting the casual people coming in off of the street. You know, you're not getting the families. You're not getting the dads who are looking for multiple choices of beers and IPAs or whatever. You're looking for those are the genuine hardcore fans. You know, you've got to spend a bit more to get to these away games. You've got to be really invested. And the players, they'll say themselves, you know, they love the away atmosphere that we bring to these games. And there've been some magical games up and down the entire league this season. And I just think if we can command that level of support without even promoting it, really, like 2 tweets or 3 tweets a week, imagine what you can do if you put just as much effort into the away games. It'd be a magical atmosphere, seriously. And you might not get any more, but you know what? At least give it a go and see what happens. Because this club, these players, this manager, they deserve as many fans to get behind them on away games as much as they do the home.
Not wishing to count our chickens before they hatch, and any other phrases which have been well used. If we get into the playoff, it looks like we will be away. Although it is still possible, we could get a home game the way things go. So come on, boost it. Get this away support going. Our away record in the playoffs is sensational. I think it's 7 wins in 7 games. So it's something to be treasured again. And that away game at Chesham in the Southern League playoff, what a day that was. To go there and outnumber their fans in a crowd of getting on for 3,000, that's what we want to savour again, isn't it?
I think I'm pretty much still drunk from that game, to be honest with you, boys. But Jake, you were going to say, mate, that they couldn't fit us all in. They had to shut the turnstiles at one point. Go on, mate. Go on. You go.
And I was to say, you know, about that playoff that year, like even the Cambridge City game on the midweek, that crowd wasn't huge. There's a lot of Saints fans that night. A good couple of hundred Saints fans made their way into deepest, darkest Cambridgeshire. And that, you know, it's often overshadowed by the Chesham game, but that night was just as brilliant. You know, I think a lot of us went there thinking it's going to be difficult. Cambridge have had a great season. They've got Adam Marriott up front. It's going to be really hard. Great atmosphere, great performance, and a great result and a really memorable one. So the playoffs, you know, have the ability to provoke these amazing moments. And, you know, if it is whatever happens come the end of the season, hopefully we can create some more.
We mentioned Shaun Jeffers' goal today, a fantastic goal last Saturday. You remember at Cambridge, Jake? David Keenley's side, I think he started the move and it went through just about every player in the team before he ended up, I think he nodded it in the end, headed it home. What a fantastic goal memory that is.
Absolutely. And if anyone that hasn't seen the highlights, it'll be actually on this YouTube channel. But if you just search in YouTube, you know, Cambridge City, St Albans City and Chesham United versus St Albans City, the highlights will be recorded, or be up there as recorded by David Tavener at the time. And yeah, they are very, very good. And I think in both of them, you can hear a young me screaming my head off as all the goals went in those two games. Dave had the pleasure of sitting next to me in the press box. So yeah, anyone that hasn't watched them, it's definitely worth a view.
Well, 10 years ago today, the 25th of April, 2013, we won our last cup. We beat Bishop Stortford 3-2 in the Hearts Charity Cup after extra time. David Keenley's side scored in that as well, along with Chris Henry and Matt Taylor. The attendance, 230.
They were dancing in the streets of Fleetfield, mate. I know that night. Oh, the crowd was rocking. There was at least 3 of us in there drinking God knows what. But speaking of the YouTube channel, Jacob, can I just say on behalf of us 3 here, thank you so much for everyone that's watched the pod over the last month or so, because the numbers have been creeping up and up and up. Probably just because you want to see us all fail and fall flat on our faces. But until that point comes, thank you for watching. Do keep emailing in. We read them all. Tweet us. Jacob is going to give you all the information you need to do that.
Yes, it's at Podful of Saints on Twitter and the email address as well. I don't think we've done our predictions yet for Saturday, which is a dangerous. Do we have to do those?
Go for it. Go on.
Oh no. 2-1 Saints.
Yay!
I don't know. I don't know. I'd be happy with a draw at this stage.
I'm just too nervous to predict. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go 3-0. Mark my words, David. 3-0 St Albans City. The mighty St Albans City. Yes.
Oh goodness me.
Yes.
Well, because within a couple of hours of this recording finishing, it could be all over for Farnborough anyway. But we shall see. Talking of the playoffs, I don't think there's been anything on the website or social media about the dates. They are underneath this podcast in the description. We've got the dates for kickoff times and everything, because some of the kickoff times are a bit odd. So if you want to plan yourself to go to some games, there's some information there for you.
And also the trust is looking to gauge sort of information, or how many supporters would like to travel to away games on coaches next week if we do have a potential midweek playoff game. So go to the trust Twitter feed and Facebook page where the details are how to contact Ian Rogers, ideally before the next home game, just so a bit of an idea as to how many supporters will be wanted to travel, and therefore we can organise that travel, hopefully. I think as well, before Saturday, I think it's worth mentioning that it's Malcolm McMillan's last, well, obviously depending on the playoffs, you know, Malcolm is handing in the club presidency at the end of the season. So I'm sure he'll get a brilliant send-off by supporters and the club on Saturday, and I'm sure many supporters, new and old, will want to thank him for what he's done for the club over many, many years.
Well said.
I didn't know that, Jay. I didn't know that. I think he took over, what was it, about 1990? I think wasn't it a heck of a run. So well done, Malcolm.
The things he must have seen, David. Some good, some bad. Let's get him on the pod.
Yeah.
Well, you say that. If we are lucky enough to get into the playoffs, we are talking about welcoming on some guests, aren't we, boys? So do keep tuning in and see how we get on. So a little shout out, Jake, to the fella who walked up to the Dartford ground with us on Saturday. He walked ahead, and Jake and I were sort of walking just a couple of paces behind. He looked around and went, "Right, boys," and almost did like a double take. He's like, "Love the podcast, boys," and then just sort of carried on drinking his can of beer. We felt, you know what I mean, we love him. We love drunk kids. They're brilliant. You know, they caused some absolute chaos that day, and they sang their hearts out for the Saints. So, what more could we ask for?
Indeed. Having a drink's probably the best way to watch this anyway.
Is that it? Is there anything else, Dave? Have you covered everything
No,
you
I think
wanted to?
we've exhausted this, I think, haven't we?
We have. On that note,
we will. Well, we're not entirely sure when we'll be back, depending on the playoff picture, but we will be back very, very soon to discuss Saturday and whatever's coming after that. So, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon. Bye bye.
See you Saturday.